Welcome back, my friends. It's that time of the month where I get to do what's becoming quickly one of my favorite types of videos to do, where I take a look at your comments and your questions over the past month from all of our different videos in the YouTube comment section and get to respond to some of them. This is RV Miles. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Today is the longest day of the year. So if you're a glass half full type person, you've got a lot more days to look forward to of warm summer days. And if you're a glass half empty type person, well, the days are just getting shorter and shorter after today. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Glad to have you here. Let's jump right in with this comment about propane. This is from Reel, Short, TikTok, whatever we call them these days. I did about propane filling and whether you should exchange your propane tanks at the exchanges at Walmarts and gas stations, or whether you get a better deal out of filling them. And you do get a much better deal out of filling them, and you do get more propane in the canister if you fill them. And lots of the comments when I mentioned that say something like this: be careful, I don't know what you mean by more propane in there, but you only should fill up to 80%. You exceed 80%, it makes it dangerous. If the tank gets hot, the gas expands, and if it's filled 100%, there's nowhere for it to expand, meaning it could explode if there's no pressure release valve. Propane fillers know how to do this. We're definitely talking about filling to 80% still when you go fill at a propane fill station, whether that's at a campground or a gas station, or wherever they might fill it. You get a decent amount more propane when you have it filled than you do at the exchanges. An 80% full 20-pound tank should have 4.7 gallons of propane in it. That's 80% full, which equals out to 20 pounds. That's why we call it a 20-pound tank. If you look at the label on the exchange tanks that you see at places like Walmart or gas stations, that you just take your old tank, you bring it to them, you swap it out. You used to see 16.5 pounds on there. Now I'm seeing 15 pounds on a lot of them. That's 3.3 gallons, or about 30% less than a properly filled 20-pound tank. It's far more cost effective to have your propane tanks filled. If not only just for the fact that when you exchange a tank, you probably have a little bit of propane left in it. So you're losing that propane as well. The only time I do tank exchanges is when A, I don't have a better option, or B, my propane tank's looking a little janky and I want to get a new one. You can just swap the old ones out with the new ones. Regarding the power watchdog scene here, but not only this brand, any brand, and higher end water filters, pressure regulators as well, I'd be concerned someone might steal them, especially the more expensive ones. That's a legitimate concern. What's weird though, is I only hear this concern about surge protectors generally, and sometimes the water systems as well. But what I never hear this concern over is your power cable. A 50 amp power cable is worth like $300. And it's the easiest thing for someone to go scrap real quickly. We don't really concern ourselves often with locking up our power cable. Now, the Power Watchdog and a lot of the other expensive surge protectors do have a place for you to put a padlock on it. You can get like a bike lock that goes around the campground post and you can lock up to it. Or sometimes people will run a very long cable that goes through the handle of their power cord and around the Power Watchdog and attaches to their rig, maybe at the leg of one of the stabilizers, something like that. There are even these like retractable cord reels. If you've got a travel trailer that can mount to the A-frame tongue of your travel trailer, and you reel the cable out and you run it through anything you've got outside, camp chairs, bikes, whatever, and circle back around and you lock it up. It's just a cable. Somebody can easily cut it, but you're trying to deter thieves. We've never had an incident where something like this has been stolen from us at a campsite. I'm sure it's happened out there, but I think it's far more important to use something like a Power Watchdog than to not. And I know you can get the ones that you install in the rig. That's certainly an option. We don't like to do that because it's such a pain to back the rig in and get set up sometimes. It's nice to have the Power Watchdog with us to just plug into the campground power before backing up to make sure that that site's okay, especially if you're in some sort of janky campground where you don't really trust all the power. Plus, when you get a new rig, you can take it with you. Both are fine options, but I wouldn't worry too much about somebody stealing your surge protector. Okay, so the news roundup I did that started with the story about the woman who died from the brain-eating amoeba from using a nasal flush from her RV water system. Either the amoeba came from the RV's water system itself, which had water in the tank that was at least 3 months old, according to the CDC, or it came from the campground's city water system, which didn't meet standards. Either way, there were a lot of comments on that video that were disappointed that I shared that news story because somehow it wasn't an RV story. It was just about using nasal flushes improperly. It was an issue from using tap water more than it is an RV problem. That's why I'm disappointed in your first story, because you used it as a filler. And not to pick on this person, but there were several other comments like that. And let me just add, yeah, it was an RV problem potentially. This person clearly had not sanitized their tanks. They had bought this RV, it was a used RV. It came with water in it, and they were still using that water that was in the tanks months later. As I said in that video, you should be sanitizing your water system in your RV quarterly or anytime you don't use the RV for a month or more. So this wasn't really about properly using nasal rinses. Obviously, this woman used a nasal rinse wrong by not using distilled water. It was more a reminder about being careful of your RV's water system. This can be a dangerous thing. And a lot of people said in the comments, well, I don't drink out of my water system, so I'm fine. Well, do you shower in it? And is there a possibility that water gets in your nose in the shower? I actually think the water is more likely to go up your nose in the shower than it is when you drink it. When you drink something, your stomach has lots of acids that can kill stuff. And often the worst thing that can happen to you when you drink some sort of bad bacteria or something like that is that you become very close personal friends with the toilet for a few days. Whereas if it goes up into your nose, it can get into spaces where it really shouldn't. And look, I have close experience with this. I have no idea what caused it, but many of you know I had a brain infection 6 years ago now, and it could have easily killed me. I have no idea if it had anything to do with RVing. It was a common bacteria that's found everywhere in the soil, but we were full-time RVers at the time. They don't know how it got there, but it got there. I got this random bacteria that often appears as pneumonia in people and ended up in my brain somehow. We were in the middle of North Dakota. There happened to be a brain surgeon at the hospital that night in the middle of the night. It was 2 in the morning. His daughter was ill, so he had brought her in. He was thankfully there to do a consult, and he said, look, I don't know if this is cancer. I don't know if it's an infection or what it is, but the bottom line is it's got to come out. It was pressing on my ocular nerve, so my eyesight was blanking out, which was what caused me to go to the hospital. And thankfully it did, because maybe there wouldn't have been signs otherwise. So the next day they cut a hole in my head and they took 80% of this infection out. And I was on extreme antibiotics for 10 weeks after that. I had to wear a helmet for several months. It was an awful thing, not just for me, but for my family to deal with. And I just think it's important that we be more careful about things like the water system in our RV. More in a moment, but first, this episode is sponsored by our friends over at eTrailer.com. If you've ever been looking for a place where you can buy spare parts and replacement parts for anything that breaks on your RV, eTrailer is it, and I mean it. They are great people. They try to get their hands on every product they use. They have tons and tons of tutorial videos on their websites about so many different products. You need a new RV air conditioner, you need a new water pump, you need new 12-volt light fixtures, whatever it is, eTrailer's got it. And they have lots of accessories for trucks and cars as well. When we bought our new truck, I bought all the accessories over at eTrailer.com. They've got hitches, window shades, tow chains, anything you want, they've got it, and many different buying guides, including if you put in your specific vehicle, they're going to tell you all the accessories that they have that actually fit that vehicle. If you head over to the link in the description when you buy something on eTrailer, you get free shipping for orders over $99. That's eTrailer.com. Go to the link in the description for free shipping off of orders over $99. Okay, next up from the video I did about storage solutions for your RV, has there ever been a real issue with theft from storage? I would think it would be rather difficult to move a hot RV. I wish there were more covered availability in my area. I'm in the open and can't justify fully closed. RVs do get stolen, especially trailers, especially conventional travel trailers. It can happen. People file the serial numbers off. Maybe they're going to put it on some property somewhere or try to just sell it hot. There are many different ways they can try to make money off of a stolen trailer. But what's more common is that people will try to steal the propane tanks and the batteries off of your RV that's in storage. Anything that's not latched down to it that can be quickly sold. You know, the batteries they can just take in to get the core charge back. So yeah, unfortunately, it is very common for there to be some sort of thefts at RV storage lots, which is why I find it important to be stored in a place, not necessarily a garage like we have, but something with cameras, something with security, I think is important to me. Jason, have you found now that you're not full timers that RVing is different now? Grabbing a souvenir, knowing that you have room for it at home, or Abby able to buy a book and add it to a collection and not have to worry about weight? Just curious. Yeah, I mean, RVing is definitely way different as non-full timers now. We're relearning how to RV. It's odd because there are lots of things that we had never thought about before. We never had to pack to go on an RV trip before because everything was already with us. We didn't really have to deal with things like emptying the tanks out before putting the RV in storage, stuff like that. We feel like we're newbies again. It's a little odd. We forget to do things often. We're learning how to prep meals in advance before a trip, a lot of things that we would never have thought about before. It really is a totally different type of travel, not being full timers anymore. The toy hauler we're looking at has the option for a washer and dryer in either the garage or in the front. Would putting the washer and dryer in the garage be better for distributing the weight? The garage will be a second bedroom and maybe haul a golf cart. So, yeah, there's a reason that they put often in a toy hauler 2 spots for a washer and dryer to go. Some people want the additional storage in the closet up front and aren't so worried about filling the garage in the back. Some people need all the available space in that garage in the back. The thing I will say about toy haulers is they don't travel as well when they're empty in the back. And a golf cart is pretty light compared to the stuff that you can often put in a toy hauler. So I think it's probably better to balance the weight towards the back by putting the washer and dryer back there. And this person also left a different comment wondering if the washer and dryer adds to the pin weight if it is in the front. And of course it does. Anything that you add to the RV forward of the axle is going to add to the pin weight. So I think in the case of a toy hauler, it is probably the best to put the washer and dryer in the back. However, it is usually best practice to load most of the stuff that you're adding to any trailer towards the front of the trailer. You're going to have a lot less sway that way as long as you're staying under your payload. One from the video that I did on using your RV's toilet. How about not flushing toilet paper at all? Have a receptacle for that, kind of like using a septic tank. So this is a debate that comes up a lot in RV Facebook groups, and people have mentioned it many times over the years to us in the comments. And we have done a version of this. So when we were in our small travel trailer that we took up the entire West Coast from Baja, California, all the way up to Alaska, we didn't have that large of a black tank, and we were rarely on any sort of sewer hookup. So in order to save the water that you need to use in your black tank, we did have a trash can for toilet paper. What we used was kind of like a diaper genie. So if you've had kids and you've ever seen a diaper genie is basically a trash can that takes diapers and it sort of seals itself with the bag. We'd used a different version that doesn't use any proprietary bags that you could just use trash bags with. And it worked pretty well. Most of the water that you have to use in your black tank is in order to break the toilet paper down. So there are a lot of people that do this. They don't put any toilet paper down their black tank at all. We did not do that. What we did instead was we put the non-gross toilet paper, it's the best way I can say that, I think, in the diaper pail. And the gross stuff, you just let go down the toilet. And that allowed us to use a significantly lower amount of water. Family of 5 on a 38-gallon black tank, we were able to go for almost 2 weeks at a time. Some people think it's totally gross, but hey, you do you. That's it for this roundup of your questions and comments. I hope you like these types of videos. I will continue to do one each and every month as we roll on forward. Thanks so much for being here. If you want to consider coming to our homecoming rally, tickets are still available. It happens at the end of September. It's the last week of September in Amana, Iowa, right off of I-80 near Iowa City. We have a great time celebrating sort of the end of the traditional summer camping season with lots of games, raffle prizes, and a whole lot more, and we hope to see you there. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Hit the like button if you got something out of this video. Subscribe if you want more like it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.